Good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing this fine, sunny fall day that has shifted an hour one day or another out of our life? So, everybody good? All right. I am, and Brian, we're new at the whole missions thing. So, if it seems like we're flying by the seat of our pants, we are. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Justin and Anna Maynard. They are coming to us today from Tanzania, where they do a really interesting work with agriculture and spreading the gospel, and it all hand in gloves together. And we are so thankful to support him and to have him here to give us a report today. The upside, too, is he'll be speaking in our worship hour, so we'll have a lesson from him as well. Before we go to Justin, if you could, we'll bow and have a word of prayer, and then we'll get him started and won't take any more of his time. Let's bow. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for life. We thank you for all the good things you do for us. We ask that you watch over us while we assemble today, keep us safe. We ask your blessings upon Justin and Anna, and we ask that you give them long, useful lives in your service. Father, be with us and keep us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. My wife and I are excited to be back in the States, and y'all are actually our first stop this year. We landed on Wednesday and drove to my wife's parents' house, and now we're here. So we're glad to be back in the States, glad to see everyone again, and so thankful for y'all's help, that y'all have been able to help us and support us in the work that we've been doing. Without the help of everyone that's involved, it's not possible. So we thank you very, very much. To kind of start off, in case you're new, in case you forgot, my name is Justin Maynard. My wife is Anna Maynard. We are working in Arusha, Tanzania. We're actually working for a Bear Valley school there. It's called the Andrew Conley School of Preaching. Actually, this year, there's around 36 students, I think. We have students from Tanzania. We have students from Uganda. We have students from Ethiopia and South Sudan, as well as Kenya. So we have a lot of students this year from a lot of different places. So we were asked to come along and help with a farming project to help the school get self-sufficient. The goal at first was to just supply some food for the school so that it could help cut some of the costs from America, so that if something was to happen with the funds, that they would be able to run on their own and continue the great work that they're doing. They have graduated many students, and there's congregations all over East Africa that have been started and trained here at this school. So this is the team that I work with every day. These are the 6 guys that I work with. We started out with only 4 of these, but we've recently added 2 more. These guys are the future of the farming project. They're not real excited, they're not real happy, but this next year is my final year on the commitment, and I've been slowly trying to turn things over, slowly trying to give them more responsibility, give them more things to be doing and running this thing on their own this year. Reluctantly, they're starting to take on the role and doing a great job. These guys are excellent. They've learned what they're supposed to be doing, and they're very, very good at what they're doing. But this is the future of the farming project at Andrew Conley. We'll talk some more about some of these guys, but these are the guys that I have the privilege of being with, and this will be the future that will carry on the work. Hopefully, that when we leave, these will be the guys that continue what we're doing. Some of the things about the farm this year. One thing we've done this year, we tried to go back and evaluate each of the projects. In order for us to be able to step away, each of these projects needed to be self-sufficient. Now, a lot of these projects happened really fast. If you remember some of the previous reports, things just came in. We just added a lot of projects really fast, and we're kind of overwhelmed. So we kind of stepped back this year, reevaluated, looked at some things, and really got down into numbers to make sure that what we were doing was actually going to be successful. One of the projects we found that was not doing real great, that it was on the borderline, was a chicken project that we had. So we brainstormed on some ideas about how we can make this better. One of the problems is, as you look at the top picture, or the bottom picture there were 2 rooms, they were big rooms. So we were growing out about 300-400 chickens at a time. The school was getting about 150 of those, and then we were unable to sell that large number of chickens. It was hard to get a buyer that was able to buy that many. One of the reasons is there's not refrigeration, and so we were having a hard time selling, and we're wasting several chickens. So what we decided to do was we went in and put a wall, divided this into 4 rooms now. So what we do is every week we start 200 chickens. The school gets 50, and then we've actually lined up a buyer who will buy 150 from us every week. And so because of this project is now able to make money. We're able to give 50 at a time to the school. It cuts down on our loss of giving away the chickens. We're not giving away 150 at a time. We're now cutting it down to 50. Helps the school be able to freeze them and keep them so we're not wasting any. And so this project is now, when it was not making money, is actually making money. So you can see that we've added four different rooms. We went and wired up all the lighting and everything in these small rooms that hold right around 200 chicks. We're able to grow them out in 4 weeks. And so this project here is now actually making money where it was costing us a little bit when we went over our books. So we've been able to do this and get this up and running well. This year we ran into a few problems, but it was an opportunity. I'm glad it happened while I was there for me to teach and do some more training. We had some fall worms move in from South Africa. They came from the South America in a hurricane or something a couple years ago. They're slowly moving their way up of Africa. This year we were lucky enough to get them. And so all the farms around our area, luckily we're good friends with some big farmers down the road, and we were actually over there one day talking and hanging out with them. And they said, have y'all checked y'all's corn? Because we were out walking the other day, and we noticed that we had some fall worms move in. So sure enough, we rode right back to our farm. We got out there checking, and we noticed that we had worms. So we were able to go out and get chemicals and get sprays. And I was able to teach the guys how to spray properly, what chemicals to use, get them in contact with suppliers and different things, so they're now able to use chemicals. Now, we don't like to do that, but when you have fall worms, you really don't have a choice. What they do is they bury into the stems, they'll come up, they'll eat everything, and eventually your whole crops will die. So what we did is we went and got the chemicals. I taught them to mix it properly. I taught them how to handle it properly and safely. We actually, after we sprayed ours, we went out in the community around us and showed some, showed some of the other farmers as well how to properly spray and what chemicals they need to use, so that everyone in our area was able to harvest corn this year. You can see the guys here. This is not using a tractor like we would in the States. We had to use backpack sprayers. At this time, it was actually not that bad because the rains were not bad, but the third time we had to spray, it was right after a big downpour, and we literally had to take our boots off, and we were going barefoot out there because every time you stepped, you would sink down to your knees. So it took us almost a whole day to spray the fields. But you got to use what you have when you're there. Another problem we had this year, we had some torrential rains. We get rains about 2 or 3 months out of the year. This year we got more rain in 2 months than we've gotten the past 3 years that we've been there. It was a lot of rain. You can see these are our raised beds. The water is actually up over the raised beds and is flooded all in our corn fields and our bean fields as well. There was a new road put in that leads to a new part of the property. And so what we had to do was we went in, we've cut trenches and stuff. You can see this here. We were doing this actually right before we left. So before we got on the plane all week, I was digging ditches. So all these ditches here were dug by hand. We've trenched from the factory on the side of us all the way out to the other side of our property. So hopefully if the rains come again this year, the water will be able to get out. And we put a culvert under the road. The water got so high it actually washed out the road and damaged a lot of our bean field this year. So we remedied that problem. We're able to put in a culvert, dig all these things, and get this ready for next year. So we're already beginning to prepare in case we get more rains than we're expected. One of the problems there is that the ground is very hard. The top pan was only about, or the hard pan was only about a couple centimeters deep when we got there. Because of deep tillage and different things, we're now getting pretty good penetration, but it wasn't enough to handle all the rain that we got this year. Literally, we have some videos of our phone where we're driving on our road to the house, and the water is like up to the doors on our car, just on the roads, driving from the main road down the dirt road to our home. So we got a lot of rain very fast. Because of that, our corn harvest was not as good as usual, but it was still very successful. I think right now, before I left, we had around 85 bags of corn left in the shed, and that's after using it for the 3 years that we've been there from the last 2 harvests. So the corn is there. With the bags that we use, we're able to keep and reuse, and so we're still several years ahead on the corn. This year we planted beans in part of our field. Because of the flood, we lost half of that field, but the top half I was able to survive. We're able to harvest a lot of beans as well. So the plan is to keep rotating our crops. Now that we got the flood damage under control and different things like that, our plan is to start rotating, do beans on one field and do corn in our other 3 fields, and then rotate the beans and keep moving that so it adds nitrogen back into the soil. This is our new bull. If you remember last year, I told a story about how our old bull almost killed me when I was giving it water, and it turned around and head-butted me in the back, and then I stayed on my feet, and then the bull come at me again and actually jumped on its back, and it rode it around the field a little bit, and then it threw me. That bull is no longer there. Thank goodness. Yeah, that's a good reason why he got to be pretty dangerous. And so he had bred all our cows, and he was time to go. He was getting dangerous. He'd actually attacked one of the students, and the student got hurt pretty bad. It actually threw him into the wall, and he had to have stitches. So we decided it was time for that guy to go. And so this is our new bull. It's a cool story. There's a young man that comes over with his dad. His dad made him raise his own money to come. So he was doing car washes. He was actually one really mean guy gave him money to sing Rocky Top over and over as he video recorded him. And so he did all kinds of crazy things to earn money so that he could get to come to Africa. And so he actually raised enough money through doing these odd jobs and things that he made extra money. And so he come to us and wanted to do a service for the farm. And it's about that time we'd killed our cow. And we said, well, would you like to buy us another bull? And he said, yes. So this 10-year-old boy went on to raise enough money to come over and then gave the money, and we let him go out, and we bought this bull with the money that he gave us. He actually named the bull. The bull's name is Joe Jr., which is named after my brother-in-law, which is like his best friend. And so this is Joe Jr. So far, we're up to about 15 cows. We have 2 males now, and the rest are in the bull, two small males in the bull, and the rest are females. So the cow project is growing. It's doing well. We're able to get a lot of milk. We're able to sell and cover all the costs. And then we still are taking the corn stalks. We're running it through a chipper that we got, and then we mix it with molasses and different things and feed that all during the dry season. So the cow project is going very well and is continuing to grow. Another thing that we just got when I came to the States last year, we hadn't had too much time to do, is we're able to get a greenhouse. One of the big problems moving in our area is this bug that's killing the tomato plants. It's coming in, and there's nothing that scientists have been able to discover to stop this. They're even saying that if they can't figure out a spray or some kind of a hormone or something to stop it, that we won't be able to grow tomatoes in East Africa in a few years. And so what we've done is we put in this greenhouse here, we put in the raised beds, we've put in the drip line irrigation like we use on the other part of the plants, and we've gone through and we've planted tomatoes this year. So that we started them in the house, just like you would. And then we went back and replanted them in the greenhouse. So this is the plants before we got there. This kind of got pushed to the side a little bit because of the rainy season. We get back right before planting season, and then it started raining, and the rain it was hard to even get out in the fields. So we only got to start this the latter part of the year once everything dried up. And so hopefully when I get back, these are going to be tall tomato plants. These plants actually are from. There's an Israeli company that's near us that does greenhouses. These plants are special for greenhouses. I didn't have any pictures, but the stalks on these things get about this big. They grow about 7 or 8 feet tall. It's a new hybrid plant that they brought in especially for greenhouses. So what the guys should have already done, I haven't seen pictures yet, but I told them they need to do this. We'll run strings all the way down the greenhouse and then run the strings down to the plants, and the plants will climb up the strings. Each of these plants, when we went and looked at and talked to the guy who gave us the seeds, each one of these had like 20 to 30 big tomato plants on it. So this is a pretty cool tomato plant. So we're hoping it does well in our soil. We've gotten fertilizers and different things to go with it. And so we showed those guys. So hopefully when I get back, these things are tall and producing a lot of tomatoes. And also on both ends, we have pepper plants that are the same. And so this is the first time they're getting used the greenhouse. The first time we're teaching about the greenhouse stuff. Actually, the hardest part is getting them to keep the door closed. I don't know. Every time I walk by, they leave the door open. And so that's been a struggle trying to get them. The reason we have it is to keep the bugs out, but they want to leave the door open when they walk in. And so we've slowly been teaching them. I've been getting on to them. And so now they're keeping the door closed. We got the drip lines. So actually, all we got to do is walk outside. We don't have to walk in the water. We have a little switch. We open it, it waters it, so we never have to go in and out of this greenhouse. So hopefully this will work, and the tomato will be able to get tomatoes at the school. These are the fruit trees I showed you last year. At the beginning of, I think it was in July. When did we plant these? November of last year. So these are in a month. In November, these will be a year old. So we just planted these last year. You can see the papaya, the banana trees and everything. The bananas should start producing next year. And so all the fruit trees that we're growing are doing well. We have a big tank. We've been watering, keeping them clean, and so everything's coming up. So hopefully next year we'll be able to harvest a lot of fruit for the school as well. Another source of income, another source of vitamins and stuff for the food that they're getting to help with the nutrition. This is kind of a funny story. A church donated a chainsaw. There's a John Deere dealership just moved in, and they actually brought in steel equipment. So we were able to convince the church to purchase a chainsaw. but it was after we'd cut all the trees down. And so it was a little late, but it still worked out nicely. We had this huge stack of trees just piled up in the corner. And if you see the picture of the chainsaw, right behind that is a panga or a machete. And that's what we use to cut all the trees down with. And so every day that they were cooking outside, one of the guys would go and chop up little sticks and then use that as a fire. The next time they needed to cook, he'd go chop up a little more. So it was something we were doing slowly. When we got this chainsaw, we went out there in a week and were able to cut up all the trees. And then stacking that nice stack, and they were using those to cook for all the seminars, for the school when they were cooking outside. That stack of wood is very, very expensive there. That's about $2,000 US worth of wood. We were able to cut up in about a week. So that's a lot of money we're saving the school, not having to go and buy charcoal, not having to go and buy wood. Wood in Tanzania is very scarce. They don't like you to use it. They're trying to push the country into using gas, so they make it very, very expensive for the natives. And so the wood is hard to get. The guy that's holding the stick, not the guy using the chainsaw, when we brought that thing out there, you would have thought it was magic. He was so, so excited. He was actually the one having to go and chop the sticks to use for the fire, so he thanked us over and over. I'm so glad you brought this. This thing is so cool. And so he was really excited. And so they used the chainsaw all day. In the States, that's something that's not a lot of fun, but they loved it. When it was new, it was a new fun tool, and so I turned them loose, and they loved doing that. And so sometimes it's all about perspective. To us, using a chainsaw all day wouldn't be that fun, but if you never got to see one before, it's a pretty cool thing. And so this has been able to provide the school to cook with. We have a lot of seminars. The campaigns this year were at the church that we attend, so they used all this for all the cooking in the campaigns. So this wood has been very, very useful. This is Ishmael. He's the newest member of our farming staff. One of the things that we decided that we needed to do was to be able to keep account and better records of what we've been doing. We tried to do that with me and Augustine, the farm manager, but we were so busy getting pulled out to do other jobs and do other things that we were just unsuccessful. We were not good at it, I'll be honest. That was one thing that kind of let slide. So we agreed that we needed to hire someone. We talked to Bear Valley, and they agreed that it would be a good idea. So this is our new accountant. He's a member of the local church there. He actually just graduated from college. He couldn't find a job, so we brought him in to work for us. So he is keeping track of everything we're selling, keeping track of how the money going in, going out, doing all the accounting stuff for us. There's actually a new missionary there, missionary family just moved there, and he's working closely with Ishmael, teaching him how to properly do accounting, show him how to keep the books and do different things, and so that we can keep records and send accurate information back to Bear Valley every month. Since he's been there and keeping real accurate stats and stuff for us, the last couple of months he's been keeping everything. We've actually found out that now that we got the chicken project fixed, that we're covering all the costs on the farm. So we're able to pay the workers, we're able to cover the cost of all the running and everything, and we're coming out just a little bit more. We're making a little bit of money, not much yet. And so we're going to keep evaluating the farm and looking at this year, maybe a few other projects that might push us over the top even more. But in 3 years, we've been able to make this self-sustaining. So I feel like it's been successful. These guys are great guys, have done a great work and worked very hard to get this where it is now. So this is the newest guy. Another big thing is he's doing all the selling for us. He takes care of the eggs, he takes care of the milk, he takes care of the greens. So he's the one that handles all the money, and so he's not pulling us off as we're doing jobs as well. That was a hard thing. We would be out working, and then someone would need eggs, and we have to go back to the building. And so he's been a big help to us. And it's been encouraging once we could really see the books that the farm is actually covering all the costs. And that's what we'd hoped. This is what we had planned, but we didn't know if it was possible, but now it's starting to work. So the farming project is going very, very good. Other than them not wanting us to step away, we've been slowly trying to work ourselves out this year more and more, turn the reins over more to them. It's not easy for me, and it's also not easy for them. But in order for this to be successful, it has to happen. This has been kind of a weird year for me as I try to pull back and not want to say anything and kind of let them go through things, make mistakes, do things their way. And so it's been a challenging year for me and them both, because they're trying to pull me in and want me to stay, and I'm trying to push back a little bit and say, no, y'all handle this, y'all do this. And so it's been a fun dynamic. It's been a different dynamic all year. But these guys are great. They're good. They've been trained well, and they're hardworking. And so I'm fairly confident, I think my wife is too, that this can continue far beyond when we leave. And that's been our plan, that's been our prayer, that's been our hope ever since we've started. This next year we're going to be slowly pulling ourselves more out, doing some other things while we're still there, letting them kind of run the things. And then if there's a problem, I can step in and help and fix a few things and direct a few things. We're also going to be looking at a few other projects that we might consider to add to push the farm over the top. We're making a little bit more money. So all in all, I feel like the farm has been a success. I feel like these guys have handled it well, have taken over the responsibility, and done a great job. And I couldn't be more prouder of the guys I've got to work with over these past 3 years. Some of the other things that we've been doing as well outside of the farm, this is the Bible class there in Kisongo where we work. Anna has worked hard with the ladies. Now, when we first got there, her sister was teaching the ladies class. Since then, Anna has been working hard, training ladies, teaching ladies, giving them the confidence and the materials they need. This year, the same thing. She's turned that completely over to them. And there's been some resistance with that as well. Anna's always, she started out slowly, she gave them the class, and then she helped them with the material every week, and now she's trying to make them do their own material, make them do their own lesson plans, and they still come and they're like, well, how do I do this? Give me the coloring sheet, I need something to do. But she's worked very hard to kind of turn these things over to them. Everything we do in our work is to work ourselves out of a job. We don't ever want to be somewhere forever, if that makes sense. We want things to last once we're gone. And the only way to do that is to train someone and then turn the reins over to them and then let them make mistakes, let them learn, let them grow on their own. And so these are some of the women. I think now there's 4 women trained, and we have 2 kids classes now. When we moved to the church, there was 1 class, and then the kids were like from babies all the way up to teenagers. And so now we have 2 kids class at the church, all taught by the women. We have a teenagers class who's taught by a young man there, actually one of the guys that work on the farm. And these guys have been working hard. Actually, the new missionary there is helping a lot with the teen class, trying to get that developed and trained the teacher to do the teens class as well. And so the church there is growing, and they're learning, and now they're starting to take on some responsibilities and roles for themselves. One new thing that Anna has been doing this year, and it's actually pretty cool. There is a local, it's not orphanage, it's a daycare that just opened up in Kisongo. It's actually some friends of ours that opened this up. Several of our workers, kids go, and their goal is to help single moms, give them somewhere to leave their children, and be able to go out and work. That's a big problem in Tanzania. A lot of single moms give up their kids to adoption and stuff because they can't go out and work and provide for their family and different things. So they've opened up this daycare near us that provide a place that you can drop your kids off early in the morning and go pick them up late in the evening, and then the mom can go out and work and provide for her family. Well, Anna goes once a week, and she teaches Bible to the kids. She goes there and does a Bible lesson. The cool thing about this is there's no one there that speaks English. And so Anna does all the lessons in Swahili. Now, she comes up with a lesson, texts it to one of our good friends who's a member of actually works with us some on the farm. And then he texts back the sentences in Swahili. Then she takes that, and then she goes and teaches the classes every week to the kids there in Swahili. A lot of times the nannies there will repeat it in a little bit better Swahili. But I think now, even last time she said she went, the nannies didn't even repeat her, right? So she's getting good at it and different things. But this is a cool thing that she's been able to do and take a part of teaching these kids in their own language and help these kids to grow and learn about Christ. Anna still continues to teach to the local schools. One of the cool things about the country we're in is that we're able to go into the schools and teach. As long as there's one student who is a member of your church, you're allowed to go in and teach a Bible class once a week. So Anna goes with Paulina there, and she teaches younger kids, and also another member of our congregation goes in and teaches the older kids as well. And so every week she goes, she teaches the kids. This isn't a normal kids class. She teaches straight through the Old Testament is what they ask them to teach. And the way the kids learn in Tanzania is they learn by rote memorization. And so things are repeated, and they repeat them back, and that's how they learn. They're not really critically thinking. It's hard to ask, so what does this mean? They're not really going to get that, but if you ask the 10 plagues in order and what chapter and verse they're told in, they can repeat that back to you in order and all those things like that. And so they're very bright in memorization things because that's the way they're taught to learn. And so these are it's a different way of teaching. It took a little learning, and it's funny too. You can't see in this picture, but there's about 120 kids in the classroom, and there's usually a couple more women that go with Anna that walk around with sticks, and every time the kids misbehave, they slap them on the hand. And that's culturally how they deal with we're not being ugly, that's culturally how they deal with the students, and they keep them in line. And then so it's funny, Anna will say something and they'll repeat it back, and then after the end of the class, one of the other ladies will go in and do a review and make them repeat everything that she said. So it's a pretty cool, different way of learning and dealing with. So it's been a cool thing. And then several of these kids now attend our church. It's been a great outreach and to pull in new kids. Another thing Anna's been doing this year is going out and doing some ladies' days. This one is a picture that's a long way away. It's on the other side of Karatu, about 2.5 hours to this church. The other white person in this picture is the new missionary family that moved there. Sorry, that might be, but in Africa we call it Wazungu. That means foreigner. The other Wazungu that's in this picture is a missionary. She came, when did they come? They've been there for 3 months now. But right after she got back, Anna was traveling to do this seminar. Invited her to go along, and they went out and taught these ladies about teaching and different things as well. We're still also doing our children's seminar once a month. We're going to church every month, doing a children's seminar, teaching the women how to teach children. I've got a lot of positive feedback on this as well. As we travel back out into some of these churches and visiting, most of these churches that we visited that used to not have children's classes are now having children's classes. So this has actually been making a big difference to allowing the women, to encouraging them, to promoting being able to teach these children. And now that they're doing this, there's more children coming to our churches. They're getting the education, the basis, the foundation of what they need to grow up to be stronger Christians. So we're excited that this has worked. It's given us the opportunity to go out and see other churches, to visit all the members. And also we're pleased that a lot of the churches now are adopting this and having classes for their kids where they were not before. This is actually a picture from a VBS we did at Kisongo this year. This is a church we attend. By the end of the week, there were over 200 kids coming. And so it's a mess with 200 kids trying to do VBS, and there's different language, and there's only a few people there to help. So it was a lot of fun for them. I think I stayed away because the kids thing is not really my thing. I stood outside and handed juice boxes as they walked out the door. But the kids loved it. Every day they were coming out smiling and happy, and every day more and more came. I think we started out with 150, then 160, 170, then the last day we're over 200. So the kids are growing. One thing that I've gotten involved in that I've really become passionate about there is teaching on leadership and elderships. We were able to work some with the Arusha congregation last year. They now have elders. That's the first congregation in the Arusha region to put in place elders. This year we got invited to go to Dar es Salaam to a church called Temeki. You can see there's a pretty big church. There's over 200 members, and they were in the process of selecting elders. So we rode a bus up there. It was about a 12-hour bus ride with no air conditioning, slammed on this really tight bus. Next time we will drive. I thought the bus would be easier, but it was not a lot of fun. And so we went up and we did a few-day seminar for them. We spoke all day Saturday, all day Sunday. We had 2 hours question and answer every day. And we discussed the roles of leaders, what a Christian leader looks like, why we need elders in the church, the roles of elders, what an eldership looks like in a church. We covered all those issues and answered all their questions. They've actually now have 2 men who are elders in this church. And so that they're the second congregation in Dar to put in place elders. And so I've really enjoyed getting to do this, getting to travel around, doing these seminars at different congregations. We actually have a couple planned as soon as we get back. We're going back to Dar to a church that actually already has elders. They're having some trouble with the elders congregation relationship since these things are new and don't really understand them, how it works. It's a new thing there. Not a lot of churches have elders. So they've asked me to come up and do some seminars and stuff on that. So we'll be traveling to Dar to do that. Also this year, we've done a lot of work with Kisongo. We asked that you would continue to pray for them. They've asked to have names turned in for men who they think would be eligible for elders. And so they're in the process. Everything in Africa takes a long time, though. Here we would ask for names, and next week we would jump right into it. Over there, you need 3 or 4 months to ask for names, and you need another 2 or 3 months to pray about it, and you need another 2 or 3 months to decide that you really need elders. And so this could take a while for it to go all the way through, but they're at least moving in the right direction. We ask that you pray that be with them in this transition as they do this new thing that's not really done there in Tanzania. In our evangelism, we do a lot of evangelism. Africa is an awesome place to get to do evangelism. So if you ever get the chance to come, it's in this amazing place. You just walk up into a house, you say Hody. Culturally, they have to let you inside, and you can sit there for hours upon hours just studying the Bible with people, answering questions. It's an amazing place to get to be and get to work. We have people come all the time. We don't set up any studies. We just walk out the door, and we can be gone all day and do studies from daylight to dark. Never have setting up anything. It's a great place. These people are open to listen. They're opening to study. They're opening to learn God's Word. Because of that, we have a lot of new converts. One thing that me and Anna have tried to focus on a lot this year and the past year is we spent a lot of time doing follow-up studies. This year in the campaign, we had 62 baptisms in 2 weeks. That's a lot of new Christians. That's a lot of people who don't know a lot about the Bible, do not know a lot about the church, don't know a lot about anything really. And to follow up with that, if you can imagine, say a team came here and baptized 60 people in this community, how would you be able to get to all of them, keep them faithful, keep them strengthened? And this is a big church, right? And there are a lot of you that know your Bible, that know how to go out and study, know how to go and train. There's very few in this church that have the knowledge and capability to go out and teach. We're very lucky at Kisongo. We do have several very smart members that can go out and teach, but there's not 60 of them. There's not even 30 of them really. And so one thing that the preacher has done this year that's been amazing is he gave the stronger members kind of kids is what he called them. And he gave each one 3 kids. And so what we're supposed to do every week is go check on our new converts. So different people in the congregation have been given 3 or 4 different new converts, and each week we're supposed to go and check, and we have a meeting at the end of each week and tell the preacher how they're doing, some of their things, if he needs to go check on them. And so we've really tried to do some different programs, different things to be able to keep these new converts. So a lot of our evangelism is actually with new converts. We do a lot of strengthening, a lot of growing, a lot of maturing in the faith of these new converts. And so you can see there, the class is a new converts class. I was teaching that for while I was there. After all those new converts came into the church, we were meeting and having a converts class every day or every Sunday. We go and visit them at their homes just to encourage them, to strengthen them, to teach them, so that they remain faithful. We try our best that these people are just not numbers that are reported back in the States. A lot of times that's what happens because it's impossible to follow up with that many numbers. It's impossible to go out and reach that many people, and it's not the locals' fault. If you think about how overwhelmed the preacher here would be if he had 60 new converts to go visit every week. That'd be overwhelming and hard to do. And so we've tried to develop some plans, try to develop some strategies so that we can go into these people and make sure that they're staying. When we started attending this church, I think it's a couple pictures over. When we started attending this church, this is the church that we go to, there were 80 members. The church has now grown over 200. When the preaching students are there, you can add another 30 on top of that. And so the church is getting to be very, very big. It's growing. It's vibrant. It's an exciting church to get to work with. They bought into this idea of that evangelizing and baptism is not the end. We have to continue to follow up. We have to continue to visit and make sure that these people stay in the church. Go to their homes, knock on their doors, ask where they've been, check on them, see how they are, and then give them a little bit of a Bible study. Study with them, encourage them. Most people just want to be checked on. Most people just want to know that you care. And by showing up and doing these things, we've been able to retain a lot of our members. And the church is now, where it was 80, is now over 200 and still growing. The preacher there, the members there do a great job doing that. Actually, on most Sundays during the dry season now, our attendance doesn't really fall off. Like most churches in the States, your attendance falls off on Wednesday night. Ours falls off on rainy season. During the dry season, we have so many people in the church that you have to sit outside. We put pews around the windows, we put pews out the door, and you're sitting out there because the inside is smack full. But during the rainy season, our numbers do drop a little bit because everyone walks to church and it's mud and it's flooding. But during the dry season, we have too many members for our building. We're actually in the process now of building another church building that's bigger, that'll be able to hold more members, and then we'll use this church building as classrooms, to add more classrooms. Right now, this church, we have 2 kids classes, we have a teens class, we have a men's class, we have a women's class, and we have a new converts class, all being taught by the locals. So it's growing, there's more and more taking leadership, and so we're really excited about what this church is doing. And this is also the church that's in the process of choosing elders as well. So we ask that you would continue to pray for them, continue praying for their growth. Something else we started doing this year, kind of outreach, kind of encouragement to kind of involve ourselves more in the community. Every month we started having a couple of families over to our house from the congregation. We invite them in, we have dinner with them, we have a Devo with them, and just talk and become friends so that we're not, I don't know how to say this nicely. Sometimes there's a mentality that we're the missionaries and they're the locals. And it's not good, but it's just what happens. It's naturally what happens. And so we've been trying a lot to put ourselves more in the community and be involved, and so that they can feel like we're the part of their family, because we feel like they're our family. We feel like the church there is our church family. We miss going to Kisanga when we're not there. That's where we feel like that's where our membership is. That's the church that we're involved in, that where we belong when we're there. And so we've done a lot to try to promote that feeling where we're just somebody else. We're just your friends. We're just here to help and being a part of that family. And so we've put a lot of effort in that, and we've invited them several different. We tried to go through all the families. We didn't make it all the way through, but hopefully when we get back, we'll continue that process of bringing the different families into our house, feeding them, having a Devo, talking to them, just getting friendly, and putting ourselves on equal footing, to kind of say. So that's been a cool thing that we've been able to do this year. That's really helped us grow closer with the people there. We love the people there. We love the church there, and it's a great work and great people to be involved with. Very loving, very kind. We have a couple of minutes. I was going to leave a few minutes. Since this is a class period, is it okay if I ask if there's any questions? It's okay. A lot of people have different questions about what we're doing, concerns, things about Africa. Anything that you're wondering about, if you have any questions, if your comments, concerns, anything. This is kind of traditionally what we do there too. After class, you leave a few minutes, give people time to talk. I try to always get the sermon. I never want to do class because some of the questions you get are crazy. And so anytime I get a chance, yes sir.
Time there, are you, and the land management practices you're doing, are you seeing an improvement in soil quality?
Yes, a lot. We've been on the raised beds that we grow. When we first moved there, we tried to grow some potatoes. They got about this big, and that was as big as we got. We grew carrots as well. At the top of the carrots were still real big. By the end, they were like paper thin, like pencil thin going down. So the soil was very, very hard. We've done a lot of composting, a lot of manure. We taught the guys how to do those things as well. And now the soil, we're able to grow onions, we're able to grow potatoes, we're able to grow carrots. Has gotten very soft. On our crops, on the row crops that we're growing on the bigger land, we've used a lot of deep tillage practices to try to break it up. We cut our corn up. We just take the top half of our corn, leave the other standing, and then we re-till it right before we plant to get some organic matter back into the ground. When we first moved there, the hard pan was about this high. It would rain, you could walk out and go like this, and it was dry underneath. Now, we actually pulled out in the field and got the tractor stuck, and we got to see how deep the water goes. We're about 12, 13, 14 inches down. We're getting penetration now, where before we were getting no penetration at all. So the soil's getting better. The crops are doing better and better each year. And through the using of all the fertilizer from we use everything from the cow house, everything from the chicken house. We leave the crops standing in the fields and till it right before we plant. So all that is helping softening the dirt. It's going to be better and better.
After you transition out?
That's a good question. We're still praying. We're still exploring options. I really don't know. It's been a tough question to answer. We love. It's been hard on us too. We love the people there. We've created these these friends, and this bond. And so it's going to be very, very hard to leave. But I think we believe that in order for it to be successful, we can't stay and continue to be a presence there, if that makes sense. In order to accomplish what we set out to accomplish, us being there hinders that. And so once they've reached that point of where they can run it themselves, we need to be able to, no matter how much it hurts or how much we don't want to, we need to be able to step away. We've been looking at some similar projects in other areas and exploring different options. It's just been a hard thing for us to decide and come up with. So I would appreciate all your prayers and thoughts as we try to decide where we're going to end up or what we're going to do next. Yes, sir?
As you transition out and you transition new leader, do you have someone specifically
Yes.
designated to be you?
Yes, I do. We'll go back real fast to the picture of all the guys.
You have a lot of passion. Is there someone else there that's going to pick that up?
Yes, you see the guy in the middle here with the gray and green? His name is Augustine. He is probably one of my best friends, ever. He's a great guy. He is an excellent person. He is very trustworthy, very passionate. He loves his job. He's out there with me from daylight to dark, standing right beside me when everyone else leaves. He's a very good leader. He's getting very good at managing his time, managing what needs to be done, laying out plans. I have all the confidence in the world that he can handle this. And he was actually, starting January 1st, he will be the director of the farm on paper. His job will be directing the farm. So we will still be there. This is how we kind of wanted it. We wanted to still be there when this transition happened, to still give advice and step in and give some help. And me and him have a good enough working relationship that we can talk and we can be honest with each other. But I have every bit of confidence in the world that he can handle and do a great job. And so, yeah, so the guy in the middle is our farm manager. The guy in the tie-dye shirt to his right is the guy over the farm, over the chickens. He's been trained to all the medicine, how to deal with it when they're sick, how to properly keep everything clean, the feed, all that stuff. The guy beside him is the guy over the shamba area, the garden area. He keeps everything clean. We taught him about the rotation that we use to make sure the school has greens and tea and everything, and so he does all that stuff. The guy on the far end on the right is the cow guy. He's the guy that takes the cows, does the milk. He's been trained cleanliness so they don't get mastitis, how to properly handle the milk, what to do with it. Then the new guy is Ishmael. He's the one who is doing our accounting. And the guy in the yellow shirt and the jacket, he actually works for Healing Hands International, but he comes in and helps us with the gardening and stuff, and he uses our property as a teaching tool. People come in, he does seminars and stuff there at our farm where we teach locals. He comes in and teaches the students as well about farming practices. So we have someone in every position that's been trained and has been doing a great job the past 3 years. Was that the final bill? Okay. Well, thank you very much. If you have any other questions, feel free to come up and talk to me after. We'll be around for a while. Thank you all very much. On the other side, we are cutting the rain shadow. You drive about an hour towards the mountain.
there's a lot of